way back in the day, when I was new on the school board, we decided we were going to refinance all of our bonds and bring all of our offices together in one place, and we bought out the old Sears building, Orange Blossom Center. The problem with trying to keep it local is we did not have a local construction entity at that time who could meet the bond capacity that was needed. So what we did is we divided the projects up into smaller projects, so one of our local entities could actually bid on those. I had the opportunity to work with Shirley Pomponi to kind of make sure that Harbor Branch didn't become townhouses, and we retooled the science to go along with what they were doing, and that's been able to help them to pull down federal contracts, which of course has created quite a few jobs and a lot of spin-off opportunities. We put together a contract between the University of Florida and the school district to actually swap land and to create a research park, and then the county bought into that and bought some property, and we retooled all of our high schools. So we have students coming out of high schools with certificates that are ready to go into the workplace or going into post-secondary, whatever they choose. We are a little ahead of the curve. We have kids coming out with documents that qualify them for jobs that we don't have yet, but we will. I was part of the Dog and Pony Show that helped establish the ballot initiative for Children's Services Council. We knew we needed a dedicated funding source for children's programming to make sure that their assets were strengthened and their negatives were diminished, because they will become our workforce and they had to be strong and whole. You can't have a good, strong job market if you also don't have a good quality of life. So we have done things with transportation. I'm part of the coordinating board, which has allowed us to expand our opportunities for people who don't have transportation in the traditional way. Sitting on New Horizons board, we have created a clinic there for people with insurance, and we refer back and forth between the HANS clinic and the clinic at New Horizons, so that we make sure that everybody has an opportunity for health care. Those things, I think, are dear to my heart, and because they have actually moved the needle on what our community is. I think my leadership style is I want to empower people to know that they have opportunities and give them the assets they need to be successful. My mother was probably my main mentor, just watching her and what she did. She would go out and do things that were necessary for the betterment of our greater community. So she set the model. And for me, it became imperative that I did what I could do. I've been involved with many, many organizations. I'm still involved with a lot of them. I do sit for the long-term chair of our Children's Services Council. I am past chair of the governing board for Hibiscus, which is now very, very strong, and I have resigned from all the meetings with that wonderful group. I am part of the HANS, Volunteers in Medicine Board. I'm chair of that. On New Horizons, we have started a lot of wonderful opportunities in this community. One of the things I did like was when we had a group called St. Lucie in Motion, which was a group of dynamic, I think very smart women who decided we needed to help create a leadership pool of young people, and we recruited 11 young people, gave them reading assignments, gave them books, gave them lunch, had conversation, and they all went on to be very successful. All they needed was someone to let them know how their skills fit into what they really wanted to do and help nurture them. So those type of things I find to be very personally enriching, and I think over time have been enriching to the community.
I've been in banking here since 1974, and the bank was originally First Federal Savings Loan of Fort Pierce, and then in the late 70s we changed our name to Harbor Federal. And at that time we had 3 offices, and two of them were in St. Lucie County, and one was under construction in Vero Beach. By the early 2000s, we had 40 some odd offices, and I think in 10 counties. But we were based here in St. Lucie County, and always, I think at that point we had 8 offices in St. Lucie County. Wonderful place to do business. We have about 450 employees right now spread out throughout the state, but all of our administrative facilities are in St. Lucie County. Being a banker, we have the opportunity to lend to individuals and businesses, and over the years we've lent to a lot of businesses to start up, to expand, whether they be for vehicles, physical facilities. In many cases, you're able to get in somewhat on the ground floor and to grow as they grow. I think we had the second financial institution in St. Lucie West, and it was just a real opportunity to grow. The most important thing is that you live up to your word and what you say you're going to do, and you try to give back into the community. And I think some of that is just how I was brought up in banking, is that you get involved and you try to help make things happen rather than simply wait for somebody to come knock at your door that they'd like to do business with you. As a banker, certainly we want to have a successful bank, but you want to do it in a way in which you're proud, and I think 99% of all businesses do that, so it's not unique, but it's just something we need to live up to. Anybody who's been successful, they've done it through good fortune and working with very good people. It's just so important that when you talk to somebody about a business issue or anything else, that you know that you can have confidence that if they say they'll do something, they'll do it, and they'll do it in a way in which it's not a shortcut, is not doing something that they shouldn't do. So we're just very fortunate. In business, the first gentleman I worked for in banking in St. Louis, I was hired as the assistant to the treasurer. I make that distinction because I was certainly not an officer, but I just did what he said he needed done. We became friends. I worked with him for about 10 years. And then when I left to come to Florida, the amazing thing is that we stayed friends. And we stayed friends for probably 30 some odd years. And I would, from time to time, still call him to say, what do you do about this, or what do you do about that? I'm not sure I can point to one single person of mentoring, but I do think that we've got a number of examples within our company, and as I say, some that have gone on that have been successful. I'm always disappointed when we lose somebody, but I think if you have people that are not wanted by anyone else, then maybe you haven't done a good job anyway. So I think hopefully we've fostered an atmosphere where there is opportunity. Been involved in a number of organizations, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Council, whether it's the Rotary Club. I've been involved in hospice. I'm now on the Harbor Branch Foundation Board. I've been involved in a hospital board. I guess it's a long list, and it's not because I've tried so hard. It's probably because I've been able to spread it out over a very long period of time.
We did not have a cow that suited Florida. The Hereford and the Angus were not heat tolerant, so we crossed a Brahma in them and gave them heat tolerance, but they weren't very good beef cattle. So we used Herefords on them to improve their quality, and now our cattle are choice and prime, and they're also heat tolerant. We sell them to Texas and California, all across the southern United States.
And so we are noted to be the first breed really developed for kind of a subtropical environment east of the Mississippi.
Every year we have a group from Denmark that come here to see how we produce meat in Florida. I feel that people should understand what makes our economy and why people stay here. We have 40 or 50 people a week, like the new teachers in the St. Lucie, that we show them what we're doing to keep it clean, and that's very important. Well, I don't have a whole lot of style, as you can see, and but I try to work with people that can be leaders, and together with that, we have been fairly successful. Earl Bronson in Kissimmee was the largest cattleman in our area, and he took an interest in me, and I worked under him for a good many years. And he had cattle from Orlando down through Kissimmee, through the 100 miles south on the Kissimmee River, and we never stayed at the same camp twice. There was a saying, there are no servants in a cow crew, the boss saddles his own horse and makes his own bed and is treated like everybody else. And I think I learned more from Earlo about dealing with people than I did with dealing with cattle and horses. But he was Superman. Good communities need groups to take care of their culture and their stuff. I served on the Bacchus board for many years, and I raised money to expand the Bacchus Gallery. And I've done the same thing with Heathcote. I think that those things are so important to a community. I was at the original meeting where they decided to have a United Way, but the United Way is so important because you know that if you give $1 to the United Way, it's not being thrown away, it's being audited and checked on. And so that's the reason that I like the United Way so much.